computer.
Mhm.
I should ask you, I probably am eating up gigabytes on this
Oh,
stuff.
it's okay. There's tons of memory on the modern computer, so
Yeah, it's kind
that,
of,
yeah, I don't think you're gonna run into a problem.
okay, good. All right. So what I want to do today is I want to emphasize, and I think you're getting it quick. I know you are actually. The most important single interpretive work you'll do is the planet interactions with each other, more so than houses and signs, and all that's important. It colors it, it gives it a tint, gives it a little bit of a change of the hue, of the colors, of the meanings. But it's essentially what you're reading is the planetary energies and aspects. Those are angels talking to you, angles, the angles of the planets. And these are the messengers of God. So, too much emphasis in your reading astrology books and all is on stuff that's kind of, it's okay to learn. You should learn it. It's good. It enriches your vocabulary. It's like languages. The more you learn, the better. But what you're learning from me is the real deep stuff. The stuff that, for example, I've taught you how Saturn is satisfaction
Right.
or dissatisfaction. So when you're doing a chart, how long does it take for you to look at, for example, Saturn's aspect to Venus? If it's afflicted, you know that there's a lot of dissatisfaction in a relationship. That doesn't take any genius, but
No.
you won't see one astrologer understand that. You know,
Right.
you won't see one teacher teaching that. And it's
Yeah,
so
that's what I
clear.
love about your method is this everything is really boiled down to like the core essential stuff, and it's not, from other astrologers, and I was telling Veneta, I don't listen to a lot of other astrologers because they go all over the place. I want the core meaning.
That's right. It's sort of like the astrologers that are using all these asteroids. They got enough to be confused without those. I mean, I ask them, I say, why do you use this particular asteroid when there's thousands of them out there? Why did you pick this one? Oh, because it's big. Okay, you know, and it's like part of fortune in a chart. Every chart has a part of fortune, but what the hell does it really mean? Nobody knows. There are Arabic points. They're devised by adding and subtracting planetary angles from each other, and you get something called a par of fortune. Well, nobody tells you though in astrology that there's pars of marriage, pars of death, pars of children, pars of everything. There's 100 pars, but the only one that anybody uses is pars of fortune, and it's a bunch of crap. You know what I mean? Forgive me.
Yeah. No,
And
I understand.
you got it. So nodes, same thing. Nodes. It's where the moon passes over the ecliptic. Well, big deal. It does on the north, it does on the south. And they put a lot of emphasis on it. I say sometimes I kind of look at them and I think, well, maybe there's something. Maybe Saturn is more like the south node, and maybe maybe I don't give enough emphasis on it. But I try to take you away from all the extraneous stuff. Get to the crux of it. Don't waste time on all this other stuff. I spent years in prison doing charts with different techniques. Ebertin, German. Oh, very scientific German, right? Very mathematical. I developed the technique until I learned it. I mean, I didn't develop it, but I learned it. And I said, my God, this should be magic, but it wasn't, So, and I had the time and the wherewithal to experiment. So what I'm bringing you back to is the crux. For example, you can look at your chart and you can look at your lady's chart right now. I guarantee you, I didn't do this. I should have done it before I did it, because I say things and I got to be careful because I may say something that is makes you feel conflicted. For example, I just said that if you have affliction between Saturn and Venus, you're not going to have a good marriage or relationship, right? Did I say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did say it, didn't I? but I better.
Well, you said
I usually check my charts. I check my charts before I say it because I don't want to get you upset with me. You say, Ron, I have a good relationship. What are you talking about? Well, I bet you, though, I would bet you, you've been in a relationship for 5 years. I will bet you both of you have good Saturn relationships. I would bet on it. In fact, let's go find out. Let's go look.
Okay.
I want to share because
Jerold's Venus is in Gemini, and it's 8 degrees in Gemini, and his Saturn is 15 degrees in Libra.
Perfect trine.
Yeah.
Perfect
so he's
trine.
good.
See,
and
that's
my
very
other laptop
harmonious.
with Leanne's is dead, so we might have to.
Okay. Let's look at lens. Let's look at lens. Let's see if I got it up here. Whose is this chart? This is Leanne's. Let's see what we got here. If I can get rid of this. Okay, let's look at hers. Okay, Venus, Saturn's at 15 Libra. Oh, this is your chart, Jared.
Yeah.
Okay,
Leanne's is on the screen now.
I see it. Okay, so let's look at this one. Venus is at 4 Taurus. Saturn's at 13 Capricorn. What does that make? What kind of aspect is that, Jared?
That's a trine, right?
Good. Both of you have trine aspects between Venus, and both of you, that's amazing, have trine aspects between Venus and Saturn. So that shows that the Saturn is saying, what is the word Saturn? It's saying, I'm satisfied with my relationship.
Right.
Now, how hard of interpretation is that one?
That's pretty straightforward and easy. Yeah.
So we got to, what I'm trying to say to you is cut through all the bullshit. Excuse me, I shouldn't use it. Cut through all the bullshit and cut to the chase. When you're doing a chart, you don't have time to play around with blue sky stuff.
Right.
I tell people, I'm not going to blue sky you. If it looks bad, you're going to know it. So, and I'll tell you the truth because I'm not gonna cloud it over with a lot of puff. So anyway, so we've solved that one. So let's go back. I want to take you on a journey of the ways you see charts. Okay, 1 second here. Okay. Here's where I want to be. Can you all see this?
Yes.
Anita, did I ever do this with you?
I'm not sure what it is that you're doing right now.
The 3 layers of aspect interpretation.
Mental, emotional, or physical, mental and emotional, correct?
That's good girl. Good girl.
Yeah.
Okay, so overall looking meaning of astrological interpretation. This is so important because, you're looking at a chart and you're seeing Mars afflicting, let's say, the moon. Well, Mars is acidic. Mars burns. Mars is caustic. Mars scars. Mars wounds. So, and it's also, it's a lot of emotional conflict. So look, what came first is my question to you. The emotional conflict produces the physical problems.
Right.
Okay. So in a way, you're looking at the 3 levels, but you're looking at the mental, emotional that's causing the physical. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So when you're interpreting things, you don't just look at Mars affecting the moon and say, well, you got a lot of emotional conflict in your life, and you probably had a lot of conflict with your mother, which is the moon, right? You tend to get emotionally upset real easy. You got a emotional anger, a lot of anger, repressed anger sometimes. So you see all that, but what about the physical emotional scars that come from all that? and the relationships that are destroyed by emotional conflicts here. You see where I'm going? So you
I
know,
see.
it doesn't take a lot of interpretation to start going deeper. And that's where you become the astrologer. That's when you start really seeing the chart's depth and meaning. And then you get into the
So,
soul of that person, and especially when you're dealing with the moon. You're dealing with their soul.
mhm,
You're dealing with the sun, you're dealing with what? Spirit.
spirit. Mhm,
Okay, the willpower, the drive for life and all that stuff. Okay.
mhm,
The most dangerous charts are the ones that have afflictions to the moon and sun,
mhm.
because they can cause problems, big ones.
Okay.
And so let me get a sip of coffee.
Mhm. Oh yeah, speaking of that, I've had some coffee today. I
Did you finally
had some
have
of the
it?
coffee today. Yeah, I had some the last couple of days. It's wonderful coffee. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you.
Oh, great, great. I was
Yeah,
gonna
we're
tell
both enjoying it.
I was gonna tell you there's something you can buy on Amazon for maybe
Mhm.
12, 15 bucks. I don't know what it costs. It's a milk frother.
Okay.
Yeah, so you don't have to, like, I've got a machine that's supposed to froth the milk and all that stuff. And half the
Mhm.
time, they even though you spend $1,000 for a beautiful machine, the milk frothers always break down.
Oh, okay.
So for 15 bucks, maybe you can buy this little thing. I'll show it to you on my computer so you can see it, and you can get it on Amazon. And it makes a really great cappuccino with the foam milk.
Hmm.
That's another subject.
Sounds great.
One of my passions, coffee. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm glad I got you hooked. You can blame me. There's a lot of good news about coffee, by the way. It's very good for you. Okay. Okay, so we're going to start with this a little bit. Sun equals your spirit. It's your life. It's your ego. It's your ego.
Let me ask.
Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt.
You're not
Yeah, I
interrupting.
think okay, on the chart, I'm sorry, on the screen, I can see Leanne in my chart still. I'm not sure if you're trying to share a document with us or not, but I think you are. So
Yeah.
I'm just letting it.
Okay, why let's find out your screen sharing. Let me go out and come back in. Try it again. Can you see it now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so
Okay.
the sun is your spirit, it's your life, it's your ego, it's your need for recognition and praise. You remember Leo is the sun sign, and Leo loves to be praised.
Mhm, mhm.
So you can do a lot by knowing these things. If you're looking at another person's chart, not only can you understand what their ego needs are, but you can also communicate better with them because you know how to reach into their spirit. And when I say that the recognition, need for recognition and praise, I told you once before, the closest planet in aspect to the sun tells you more about what ego needs are of that person. Remember, I told you I have Mars squaring Venus, my sun exactly almost.
Yes.
So, and I always am kind of proud of my pugilistic skills, martial arts, and all
Right.
that stuff, you know. And I've always loved
Yeah.
martial arts. So, so that shows you. And I told you about the autistic boy that one of my students had, who,
Yes.
couldn't do anything. All of a sudden, his father, I said, put him in martial arts, and he blossomed. Just, Dad, did you see that? Did you see that? He just changed. So the sun
Yeah.
is your conscious mind, it's your spirit, it's your will. And that's important, a strong will. Now, remember I told you the best charts are not always the good aspect charts.
Right.
Remember I told you it takes strength. You don't develop strength unless you have conflict.
Right.
Okay. So if you want to get strong, you don't lay down on the couch all day. You work out. So you
Right.
challenge, right? So your purpose, your life force, your sun equals, by the way, a loving father. Now there's something here is important. The
Okay.
sun equals a loving father, but the Saturn equals a disciplined father.
Mhm.
The Saturn's the one that puts the rules down and says that's limits. Okay, Saturn's always limitations. And it's sometimes discouragement, accusing a lot. So when you have aspects to the sun and to afflictions, let's say to Saturn or the sun, you can tell a lot about the relationship of a person's with their father. I should look at your father. Your father was very strict.
Mhm.
We should look at that and see how that fits. The sun equals your heart, your back, and your courage. Now, here's something else. The heart is ruled by the sun. Sometimes it takes a long time for the manifest dangers or damage that can occur from aspects to occur. They don't happen in our youth because our bodies are very regenerative. But in
Mhm.
my case, for example, I had to wait till I was 80 years old to have a heart attack. Okay, I think it was earlier than that. I had one in 2008. Heart attack. What does Mars say? Mars heart attack. That's Mars sun. And I'm born with a square my sun to Mars. So
Mhm.
that the indicators were there, but I also have a very strong heart because I worked in cotton fields for years in prison, and all that hard work actually gave me every time I go to the doctor, say, well, your heart's amazing, it's very strong. But it also was being weakened by cholesterol and other things. So
Mhm.
the point I'm getting at is that you see an aspect and you can see a potential for danger. It took 80 years for me almost to start experiencing it. Okay, determination and purpose in life. Your closest aspect, I told you that, to the sun is the strongest area of the need for praise. Okay, so
That's huge. That seems such a big, huge thing that probably takes 20 years to arrive at it without the instruction.
you guys are really the best students. I mean that. I don't blow smoke. I don't, I call it like I see it, and I don't usually jump on enthusiastically a student with such aplomb, and encouragement. But you guys are going to be some of the best astrologers around, and you're going to carry the torch. That's what I want from you.
Absolutely.
Moon, soul, feelings, touch, subconscious mind. Feelings, touch, nurturing. All that's the moon. Now, it's interesting that cancers, who are ruled a lot by the moon, very often don't like to be touched except by very close people, family members, for example. Yeah, you would think they would be, but
Mhm.
they're it's like cancer the crab, they withdraw if you touch them and get too close to them without feeling where they feel you're close enough family that you can do that. That's the interesting thing about cancers. The moon is your habits, it's your food addictions, it's your unconscious behavior, it's your emotional needs, the child within us. It's the child, it's the baby basically in us, the mother, the home, security, domesticity, the stomach, the breast. All that's ruled by what? The moon. So if you have afflicted moons in a chart, there's some challenges emotionally that can carry down to physical problems. As I mentioned, I've seen, for example, interesting things. I've seen how Saturn to the moon can cause, what is that, where people don't eat? What do you call that?
Um,
You know,
Yeah.
huh?
anorexia or
Yeah,
bulimia.
yeah,
Yeah,
anorexia.
bulimia.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I've seen that with Saturn moon afflictions, for example. And also, a lot of weight very often comes with that aspect. It's funny, they tend to go both ways, very extreme one way or the other, and that's Saturn. So,
Mhm.
you
I've
know,
got a question for you. This has kind of been coming up quite a bit in my mind. Like, because they're so related, like for instance, Saturn and moon affliction, a lot of times that means that there's been a problem between the mother and father, right?
right.
I wonder if the physical manifestation of that is the stomach problems. Like if that problem between the mother and father didn't exist, would those problems take place physically? That's what I've been thinking about lately. I wonder if, how closely related those things are, because they're so closely related in the chart and the ideas are so closely related. I wonder if one creates the other.
Yeah, because you're creating with that Saturn moon, what you're creating is a domestic environment that's very hostile.
Mhm.
And so it's very disturbing to the child. The child is
Yeah,
picking it up emotionally, but they can't verbalize it. So
right.
they internalize it, and that generally goes into the stomach area.
Okay.
It would be similar to like like when you get really nervous or your nerves and then people throw up.
Right.
That
Yeah,
would be
right.
like, something internally or emotionally having a physical manifestation, right?
yeah, it's a very
You
good.
guys mind holding on for just a second? Sorry, I'll be right back.
No problem. No problem.
Okay. Okay.
I actually have this keynote on the computer, so I've went over this, but I'm grateful. It's occurring to me now, and especially going over things with Jerold, how grateful I am. When you really repetition is a wonderful thing, and you going over this or me, even sitting in on these with you is just like further kind of getting it in my head and everything.
Yeah, there's a lot of depth here that is easily overlooked. It's like you read it and you say, well, but when you really get it and see the levels and how they all interact with each other, that's why we're metaphysicians. You're dealing with the soul, you're dealing with the consequence of all that interactivity that's going on that's affecting the body. And yeah, I think I can't review it too much. So,
yeah, I don't get tired of it. Go ahead, continue.
I'm back.
okay, we're back. So anyway, so I've seen so many things. I remember my wife's ex-boyfriend, beautiful guy, but he, by the way, my astrology has brought me my wife, brought me my previous,
Really?
it brought me my previous wife as well. They were both students, but
Mhm.
it's brought me a lot of good things in my life. It's brought me my income. It's brought me a life work. It's brought me, just creative genius of teaching and working and writing the books and things like that. It's just so many things that opens you up to. So, and everybody will have their own particular direction they go with this. There's medical astrology, literally tons of material on it. You can buy books till you're blue in the face on medical astrology. And there's doctors that are astrologers that are using it. I personally met one in Deerfield Beach. He did our charts when we went to visit him, and he uses astrology in his work. So, and there's different aspects. One of the things when I see somebody moving a particular direction, and for example, in Veneta's case, where she's actually starting to look at celebrities. Well, there's a great interest in celebrities, a great interest. And if you doubt that, read the Star magazine or all these pulp magazines you pick up on the counter when you're going out of the stores. Those are all about celebrities. So there's a great need for somebody to work in that arena and to publish and work in astrology. So I'm happy to see her take a direction with that. And I want her to start writing. Even if it's a journal, it'll be the beginning of a book. So, okay. So Venus, our need for love, affection, union, harmony, and peace. Now, Venus afflictions can cause a lot of problems. Venus loves sweets. I'm one of the worst guys in the world with that. I love my sugars, my sweets, okay? I know I have diabetes because of that. It took a lot of years for it to happen. But the point being, very often when you see Venus afflictions, I have a grand cross on Venus. Okay, Venus opposes Neptune, squares Jupiter, and the moon. Okay, the moon is always the functioning of your body. Remember that. It's the fluids in your body. It's the function. The heart is like the electric system in your system that's governing the heartbeat and all those things. So, but the function of the body is very much the moon. So Venus, sweets, ability to receive or give affection, artistic expression and relationship, business or personal in general. So a lot of the problems that you'll see, for example, I've done enough charts that I've actually said, you have a propensity for diabetes. And they'll say, my whole family's got it. It's like, it's amazing how accurate it is. And I'm not one to give directions on that one, because I'm very, as my wife would say, I'm not very disciplined. My wife said to me, she wants me to say selfish as well. Yeah, she loves me so much, you can tell. So yesterday she said, where's your Saturn in your chart? You don't have Saturn. I said, it is the worst place it could be. It's in the 4th house, which is Cancer's house. It's in Aries, which is the worst sign it can be in. It's exalted in Libra, and it's fallen in Aries. So if you take those two together, and it's at the bottom of my chart, it is very weak. So anyway, so our need for love, affection, union, harmony, and peace. And anytime you have Venus with the moon afflicted, there's a lot of compulsive behavior surrounding your love needs. Remember, the moon is compulsive, right? So
right.
When you have that moon energy with it, especially if it's afflicted, it can become very compulsive, needy. I need a lot of love. I need a lot of affection. And so these are all expressions that will relate to their relationship with themselves and others. When you're looking at these charts, you're not just looking at Venus, you're looking at its aspects. Sure, we talked about Saturn and dissatisfaction, but what about Mars and Venus? Mars and Venus, I call it a love-hate aspect, if it's afflicted. And I mean, it really is, it's very much that. My ex-wife I had a Mars-Venus conjunction, and that's, definitely a love-hate aspect. It's hard to live with. So when you're doing charts, you're going to be seeing these things, and you're going to start, you can't go out there and say that to somebody, you can't just up front say, you tend to have a love-hate relationship, although you can, but what I'm saying, you got to be gentle about this stuff.
Yeah.
And most people acknowledge it quite truthfully, and then they'll see it in themselves. Okay, Mars, drive, anger, fear, courage. Mars, aggression, anger, conscious, willful, passion, and drive. Surgically, it can be other things, scars, violence, can be all those things, okay? The thing with these aspects, especially with Mars and the moon, is you've got a lot of internal anger. And I said that earlier, a lot of people I notice that have these Mars moon aspects, afflictions I'm talking about, end up with ulcers. So why? The burning of the internal organ of the stomach. And so when you're looking especially at Mars and the moon, you're often looking at anger towards the mother. Okay. Saturn is a different energy. Mars tends to be overt anger. Saturn is subtle, much more subtle. Satan was called the subtlest of all the beasts. And subtlety is the parameter of Saturn. It's the domain of Saturn. Saturn is the two-faced god of January. December, January is the Capricorn's month, right? And the name January came from Janus, the two-faced god. So very often in my life, I've experienced, friends that I really feel are close that will, in a sense, be talked behind my back in a way that just shocks me. And I say, my God, I didn't know they felt that way, because they're so sweet to me, but behind my back, they're saying other things. So one of the qualities of Saturn is the accuser of our brother. Remember that. Always remember that. So remember we talked about Saturn and Venus. Okay. Remember Saturn always says there's not enough. Saturn is always finding the lack, the insufficiency. That's why it does so much damage in relationships, because it's never enough. And the relationships tend to just never be fulfilling for that person. And not many things will be, quite truthfully. So it's the the cup's half full or it's half empty. With Saturn, it's almost always half empty. The relationship's half empty. It's not fulfilling. So these energies are very real in a chart. So Mars, aggression, anger, conscious, willful, passion, surgery, scars. Well, I had a my ex-wife's boyfriend had Mars afflicting the moon in the fourth house. The fourth house is, again, remember I told you sometimes you're going to use all this, but don't get over caught up in it. But the fourth house is the birth of the child, the cancer. And he had Mars. I'm trying to remember how it went. I don't remember the exact aspect, but I saw, would you believe this or not? I saw him being cut in the womb. And now, how did I see that? I can't go back to that chart after all these years, but I saw him being cut in the womb. And I said, something happened at your birth that caused damage to you. And he told me something. He said, my mother rather, had a cesarean birth. And the doctor, when he cut her open, sliced my face.
It's incredible.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's amazing.
So
it's truly amazing.
And so sometimes I see so much depth, literally, figuratively. And it always amazes me. I mean, I remember doing a chart with a woman. I said to her, you have Mars afflicting in Cancer, which rules your breast. I said, you should have a scar or a birthmark on your breast. And she freaked out. I said to her, the reason you have that birthmark is because you were stabbed in a past life in your breast. And she told me, she said, Ron, you won't believe this. She said, I do have a birthmark on my breast, and it looks like a knife wound.
Wow.
And she told me, I said, can I see it? No, no, I didn't say that. But anyway, okay. Anyway, I'm playing. Anyway, so but she told me something. She said, I've had a fear of knives all my life. She said, if there's a knife on the kitchen counter, I've got to put it away. It disturbs me so bad. And all my life, I've had this fear of knives. So why sometimes I get a specific message or something, or I see something so specific and so even past life, the chart just begins to talk to you after a while. And, you'll venture out and sometimes boldly and think, am I crazy to tell her this? But when you do, you're confirmed, that there's something here. So Jupiter's the future. It's optimism, it's faith. It's very present oriented. Being in the now is part of Jupiter, where Saturn lives in the past. Saturn has a hard time letting go. It's always remembering the hurts and the pain of the past. And it just doesn't want to relentlessly, it just won't let go of it. It's going to continually harbor it. You can have a discussion with somebody and try to get them back into the present. And before long, they'll run back to the same old stuff. My parents, my ex-husband, my husband, whoever, they'll be back there again, dredging it all up again. And there's no peace in their heart, no peace in their mind, because it's very unforgiving. And I've had a lot of clients where I counsel. I have one woman, had so many experiences with clients, but one woman who had two boyfriends, James and I forgot the other guy's name, but they live in Florida here, and she's become a good friend of ours. I've done her chart for years. In fact, we stayed at her place when they had the last hurricane. She's got a very beautiful place on a golf course. It's a very, very pricey place. And she said, you guys go stay there. The key's underneath the flower pot. I'm not there. You can stay as long as you need. But she had two boyfriends, and the one didn't know about the other. And when I told her, she was very lonely. She's an older woman in her 60s, and she's really was lonely. I said, you're going to have not just one guy, you're going to have two guys in your life. And it came to pass, of course. And she was like trying to play these two together and keeping them apart. And and so the one's a real gregarious kind of social guy, country club guy, and all that stuff. The other one is a couch potato, and couch potatoes good in bed. The other one is party time all the time and drink. But he found out about James, and of course he was furious. You can imagine. And I told her he will never forgive you because of Mars Saturn, and they were supposed to go to New York together and do all sorts of social things, and he just literally never forgave. And he will never forgive. I told her that. I said, he'll never forgive you. And so you can see these things in a chart when you're looking at their charts. I'm doing those guys' charts and I'm looking at them and saying, this man's never going to let go of this. It's going to bring it up, and he's going to be angry every time that Mars Saturn is so strong. So anyway, back to Jupiter. Jupiter's faith and it's future oriented. Can I talk about you, Veneta?
Absolutely.
Veneta undid her life a little bit here recently. And I remember seeing, and
That's not where I thought this was going, but go ahead.
no, you don't mind me?
No, I don't.
Okay, we're all friends here. So no, only in
Okay.
the sense I was talking about your Jupiter aspect. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
You remember the Jupiter affliction?
I don't. Oh, well, maybe I do have a Jupiter affliction. It's conjunct Moon, opposite Mars. Um, I'm sorry, continue. Is that what you were referencing?
Well, I remember I said to you, I recall seeing, I wish I'm not going to get up the chart and all that, but I remember seeing the future being affected by your spontaneity and your impulsiveness.
Okay. Okay.
Remember when you quit that job?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, that impulsiveness has impaired Jupiter's future. Yeah, it's okay. So what I'm trying to tell you is when you see Jupiter afflictions, Jupiter's an amazing planet. It tends to get you out of the problems you get into, and it makes for better things. But a lot of it depends on your response to the event, because Jupiter responds to faith. So when I teach people to praise and give thanks and trust in good, I'm trying to get them to activate their Jupiter is what I'm trying to do. And
Mhm.
some people you see will never get over Saturn's afflictions. I can tell sometimes in a chart that it's futile for me to spend time preaching to them about praise and giving thanks and trusting in good, because they're never going to stop their same living in the past, dredging up the past, going to bed at night worrying and fearful about the past and all the things that are going to happen to them.
Mhm.
Well, there's something about Jupiter that even though it's afflicted, good comes out of it, because that's Jesus on the cross. In other words, Jesus resurrects it continually. And people that have Jupiter afflictions, heavy Jupiter afflictions, tend to benefit positively from that. Now, Jupiter Saturn's a hard aspect. Jupiter Saturn aspects of affliction. You remember I told you that the poet that I read, and I said he has to have a Jupiter Saturn affliction, who wrote, "Most men live lives of quiet desperation."
Yeah.
That was Thoreau, I think. The point is that when I read those words from him, I said, I got to get his chart. I'm sure he's going to have that affliction. Sure enough, he did. Most men
Mhm.
live lives of quiet desperation. That's the Saturn and Jupiter. Jupiter's trying to be optimistic and faith-filled, and Saturn's bringing you down all the time into the darkness again. So Jupiter's opportunity, blessings, fortune, magnanimity. Now, it's it's wisdom, it's charity, it's benevolence, it's Jesus. Okay, Jesus, Zeus, Saturn is Satan. Zeus is the archetype for Jesus. And what did Jesus say? I am, and I am. He never said I was, I am, and I will be. He was the eternal now. So being in that eternal presence is one of the gifts that Jupiter can give. There's moments where you're totally in the now and you know it. Very often those moments come from creativity activity. When you're doing your music, you're doing something that you really are writing and creative. The creative part of you brings you right into the center of the now. It's like playing ping pong. Can you imagine playing ping pong and having something heavy on your mind?
Yeah, it's not going to work out too well.
No, it isn't,
Right.
because you're in the now. And that's why we
Mhm.
call that recreation. Activities like sports bring out the best of us and bring us back to the now. And they help us
Mhm.
regenerate and recreate again. You can play ping
Okay.
pong, I'm just using ping pong as an example. I like ping pong, but you can play ping pong for hours and not get tired. Why is that?
Right.
Should be exhausted, but you're not, you're energized.
Yeah, because you're staying in the now the whole time, right? You've got to stay in the now just to play it.
Exactly. When you play drums, you're in the now. You're nowhere else.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know?
that's right. There's a state that I get into definitely. That's, you know, it's becomes pretty obvious too, just from observing someone play drums or something like that, where they kind of get into like a trance state. You know, it's like I'm right in the now. You know,
It is.
every beat counts.
Well, there is a trance state, and that's you know, the ability to get to that place, not only yourself, but to get others to get there as well. I've seen it a lot in my own life. I mean, I've seen where I can give a lecture and, you know, and hold an audience for an hour, rapt attention, and the conscious mind can't do that. Conscious mind can only handle maybe 15 minutes, and then it gets distracted. Why is it that you can sit there for an hour listening to a lecture? Because I've reached into their souls. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it
So,
makes total sense. And most of that is due to Jupiter's energy, right?
exactly. Like I have Sagittarius Sun. I have Jupiter in Pisces that rules that sign as well. Pisces and Sag. And Sagittarius rising, Sagittarius Sun, Sagittarius Venus, Sagittarius Mercury. So those are, the word itself came from sagacious or wise man. Okay. But I had to learn the hard way because my Jupiter's on a grand cross. So I had to break all the rules. Jupiter likes to exceed the limits, okay? Likes the speed, likes to go. If everybody's going 55, I can't get there. Gotta be more, gotta go faster than that. Jupiter always wants to go faster, you know? So that, and it tends to break the rules. It tends to exceed the rules. Saturn is the rule maker, but Jupiter's the rule breaker. You know, put me on a cross and I'll still get off of this son of a bitch. You know,
Yeah.
and Jupiter resurrects continually. So even in 9 years of imprisonment, you know, my Jupiter's in Pisces, right? Prison, Pisces. My son's in the 12th house. 12th house is prisons, institutions. But even in those years, it blessed my life. How could all that bless my life in 9 years in prison? It blessed my life. It gave me the tools that I have to share today and the knowledge and wisdom to understand these things. So that's how Jupiter works. Jupiter, when you see people with a cross, Jupiter on a cross, Jupiter afflicted, don't get alarmed by it because they may have some hard lessons to learn, but you can believe me, something they'll be better for it. And their crises will tend to work to their favor. I've seen it over and over again. People worry sometimes about a cross with Jupiter on it. I don't. I say let that be because that's a resurrective energy. And people that have that keep coming back. You know, slap me down, but I'll keep coming back, you know. All right. Okay, so Saturn, pessimism, caution, fear, duty, responsibility, unforgiving, living in the past. Father, remember I said father discipline? The son is the loving father, but father discipline. So my son, Andre, our son, has afflicted Saturn. And so he has always had a hard time with any discipline. I can't discipline that kid, even when he was young. He never, his will is Leo. I tried to paddle him one time on his butt. I couldn't, literally couldn't. He fought me that much. And so, you know, that part of me, which has always been strict, you know, there's a part of me that's brought up that way. I'm from the old school, you know. But you know, that's the Saturn that he hates that disciplined father, but he loves the son father. Okay, Saturn's father time, the measure off of all things. Saturn gives impatience, punctuality, and guilt and accusations. Notice the word impatience. Saturn is called, the devil is called, it says the devil rages for he knows he has but a short time.
Yes.
Yeah, that's biblical. But you know what's funny? People don't realize the devil's within each of us. And it's the raging devil in us that's impatient. And impatience is the opposite of the first virtue of love. You read the first virtue of love is kind, love is what? Love is patient.
Patient. Mhm.
So, and so I tend to get impatient, and I tend to have a constant battle with impatience. And it's something that can be physical, or the physical, which came first, the impatience or the physical problems. High blood pressure, for example, you see all that.
Mhm.
Okay. So I spend a lot of time on this because, you're dealing with just energies. You're dealing with psychological, sometimes imperfections. And you're dealing with the planets that are very scriptural. Especially, I'm talking particularly Saturn and Jupiter. Once you master these and you begin to understand them, the charts start really talking to you.
Mhm.
Moon to Mars afflictions, feeling hurt easy, emotional insecurity when faced with danger or threats. Stomach ulcers, surgery of the stomach or female parts, breast surgery. Can be childish when intimidated or aroused emotionally. Need for food or sex to relieve anxiety and tensions. Suppresses anger, but when released, is in a strong emotional outburst. That's Moon to Mars. Moon to Mars afflictions. By the way, Veneta already has the copy of this. I'll be sending it over to you. Okay.
Okay.
Because I want you to review this stuff.
Yeah, I'm actually writing it down too at the same time, just because it helps me remember it, when I write it down. But I'll also read it,
Yeah.
the one that you made.
The difference between a good student and one that's not is the ability to take notes. Veneta's a note taker. She's always been,
Oh yeah.
And you can tell. I
She
can
showed
tell.
me. I've seen her notebook on my chart and stuff. I was pretty astounded by how much she was able to, write down about what she was seeing.
Yeah, she's amazing. You both are. You both are. And you both have the same qualities,
Mhm.
So anyway, Moon to Mars afflictions, very emotional outburst, and can be dangerous if it has other things. The three planets that are the most dangerous in a man's chart, I believe, can be afflictions that involve Pluto, Mars, and Saturn. I think I've told you that before. So I think I told you about the student that came in all lit up because she was in love, and she walked in the class and I said, "You're in love. What's going on?" I knew it instantly. Oh, I met this guy. He's the love of my life. I met him. I said, and when did this happen? 2 weeks ago. Oh, it's wonderful. And so we did his chart. Oh, we're waiting for him to give her his birth time, and she wanted to do his chart on the screen in the class. And I did it. And he had this terrible affliction with Saturn, Mars, and Pluto. And I was really worried. And I didn't want to put it too strong to her, but I said, you be careful in this relationship, Sure enough, he turned out to be a stalker and a real bad guy. And within 3 weeks, she was scared of this guy and trying to get out of the relationship. So, it's a wonderful tool to warn, but yet you have to be careful. It's so hard because, you walk a fine line between warning somebody and instilling fear in them that maybe is unfounded. I find that it's like a doctor when I was younger, and I was in prison, and he was walking with me, and he was so depressing. Said, all this, you're gonna have a lot of problems around with this and that and the other. I thought, wow, that doctor's telling me all this. And because he's an authority figure, of course you want to believe him.
Right.
So there's always a fine line you walk in astrology. You don't want to plant seeds of problems, but you also want to warn people. And yet at the same time, it takes a bit of diplomacy to do that,
Mhm.
and then not set them up for something. I'm very careful when I see a chart that's afflicted very badly, how I handle it. Okay. Okay. Mars to Moon. And a lot of these energies, the Moon to Mars, for example, afflictions, are rooted in the mother. Hatred's very often overt because Mars is overt. Saturn's more subtle. Saturn will never, kind of confront you face to face. If Saturn's got an issue with you, it'll stab you in the back. If Mars has got an issue with you, it'll knock you down.
Mhm.
You want to, I got something I don't like about you. I'll take it out physically right now. So these, of course, much of this has to do with evolvement. Okay, obviously you're dealing with different clientele. You're dealing with a guy that's a street drug addict out here. You're going to have a different reaction to all this. When I was in prison, I noticed that people were very predictable because their immaturity and their lack of control generally produced the result that they shouldn't have been producing. And in this world out here, you don't see that so extremely. But you're still dealing with individuals that all have different levels of maturity. And it all comes down to maturity, really, when you think about it. And what is maturity? It's the ability to respond correctly to situations. Okay, let's keep going here. Moon to Saturn afflictions, deep emotional depression, melancholy, and moody. Holds on to childhood hurts and thinking of the past, often constantly accusing of the mother. Okay, Saturn to the Moon. Saturn's the accuser. Remember, every time you look at Saturn, it's the accuser. And it's not always accusing others. It's self-accusing. I do charts where I see particularly young people very often, and I'll see Saturn really afflicted on their ascendant. And, their sense of self-worth is so diminished and destroyed. And very often that's from the father, Saturn, the disciplined father, because he's destroyed the child's sense of value.
Mhm.
And it can be from the mother as well, not only the father, but the mother. Okay, moon afflicting Saturn can give problems with parents in life and a generally unhappy childhood. If other aspects support this, Saturn in the fourth, which I have, can also make for an unhappy childhood. I have Saturn in the fourth, and it's the worst place it can be. I was brought up with in boarding homes till I was 8 years old. I was beaten, accused all my life. And so I had to write a book about praising, giving thanks, and not accusing.
Yeah.
But I mean, all those things help form who I am. So
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I just had a question about, so what's the difference between a Moon to Saturn affliction versus a Saturn to Moon affliction? Are they the same thing?
Same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter which, well, they're both.
Which direction?
If the angle is there, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, or 45 degrees, these are hard angles, they're called. So 45 is half of a square. So
Right.
you want to learn these aspects, and your charts will show them for you. But the problem with the charts is that it usually gives 2-degree orbs, which means if the planet is 92 degrees, it'll still show it. But if it's 93, it won't show it as a square. So
I see.
so you want to learn to do the aspects yourself and look at them and be able to see them. And you have to
Yeah.
know when to stretch them. If they're hard angles and they're on the ninth and, on the 10th and the first house, they tend to have more strength, even though they may be a little bit out of orb. I find that there's no rules written in stone in astrology, really. You have to be flexible in your interpretation, and you have to use your intuition. It's free. You didn't have to pay for intuition. Your tuition that you got inside, that's the part of you that you'll develop more and more and more as you go along in this science. And it once it gets sharp, you'll say things. Sometimes you'll say, "Where did I get that from?" People sometimes will say to me, "Where did you find that, Ron?" I said, "I don't know, but it just came." It's talking. This chart's talking. It's trying to give me a message. So, and that'll happen with you. The more you do the charts, the more you stay with them. So, and people think, "Oh, you're doing a chart." I've done thousands and thousands of charts, but I still, thank you. Oh my God, thank you. My wife made me a Thai tea. Yum, yum.
Oh, wow.
So, she does love me still.
No matter how selfish you are, huh?
Yeah, no matter how tough, she still loves me. Thank you for the tea. Anyway, so where was I at?
I got another quick question here. So at the bottom it says Saturn in the fourth house can also make for an unhappy childhood. Is that with Saturn just appearing in the fourth house, or is it when Saturn specifically afflicted in the fourth
When it's
house?
in the fourth at birth.
Okay.
It's not going to go back to that fourth house for another, 28, 30 years.
Right.
So the transit isn't going to, change the childhood or make the childhood, because you can't, go back in time. But the natal aspect will, 9 out of 10 times. And Ron has this in his natal chart.
I understand.
So,
I was just wondering, anyway, I was just wondering because, whether it's where Saturn lands or if Saturn is landing in this place, whatever house it is,
Let me
with
explain.
an affliction.
Jared, let me explain. The root of the tree is your birth chart. You don't prophesy and predict things that are not in the tree. Okay?
Right.
So it's so important. I see people get caught up in astrology, they venture off the path in a sense. They start looking at, I don't tell you how to do astrology. I'll tell you what works for me, but you start getting into all these other transits, and a lot of them are going to really may support what you believe or what's happening, but a lot of them are not. They're kind of not important. I know it sounds, I tend to be kind of crazy about, Saturn transits. That's the timekeeper of the chart. It's like the hour hand of the chart. And it's going, like Veneta said, it's 28 years going around that chart. The progressed moon takes 28 years to go around that chart. Kind of interesting, isn't it? 28, 20.
Yeah.
And
Right.
And the moon is on a 28-day.
28, same thing. And I kind of happened on this by accident. I used to watch people and astrologers always, "Oh my God, Saturn's doing this, doing that. Saturn's going over my ascendant or something." And of course, nothing would happen, but they would be in fear. And I often wondered, I said, how come it is sometimes Saturn does a real good job of banging you up, and other times it does nothing, And I finally realized it took three things. It took the progressed moon, and it took the new moons, which are a shadow of things to come, and it took the transit Saturn. If you had all three, you had a combination that was very much predictable. I could predict events absolutely with it. If I had two witnesses and maybe just two instead of three, it likely might happen. And I would tread carefully on predicting it, but there was a good chance there was going to be something happen there. So when I say, these 28-year cycles, 28-day cycles, I kind of happened on it by accident.
Mhm.
Trying to understand why it worked sometime and other times Saturn didn't do anything. So, you're getting,
Oh,
you see where I'm getting, you're getting years of experience that I've been doing this in, and finally came to the combination. It's like a clock. You got an hour hand, you got a minute hand, you got a second hand. The second hand is the new moons every month passing by, and they're all landing in a certain place. And then you've got the progress moon. It's kind of like the minute hand. Then you got the hour hand, which is Saturn. And these are all combining. When they all get together and they give you a message, then you pay attention. Veneta, I think you told me you did one of these charts. I wish, oh, by the way, I found the plug-in. My wife found it yesterday. I hope I didn't lose. It's somewhere here. Anyway, for this program, I want you to work on.
okay. Oh, great.
And that
Intrepid?
Intrepid, yeah. I'm going to send it over to you. Can we do it transferred any other way? Probably not. Maybe you can. Actually, I know you can. Might be easier to transfer it. I could plug it in and you can do it. This is an amazing program because it does everything for you, and it moves everything at the same time. In other words, here's your natal chart in the center. Then there's your progress chart in the middle. And then there's the transit chart outside. You can change any date. Just change the date and everything moves with it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And then you can go to the next new moon with one click and the next new moon with one click.
That's awesome.
Oh, so you got all three things in one. Veneta's mastered it. She's good at it. So
I've got one more question about the progress moon, because I understand now. I just don't understand what the definition of a progress moon is, even though I understand how it works and it's a 28-year cycle. I just don't understand what it means exactly. Where I know Saturn takes 28 years to go around the chart, because it takes 28 years to go around. And the 28-day moon cycle, I understand it takes the moon 28 days to go around. I also understand that the moon goes through phases, like waxing and waning, right? And then when it's finished with its cycle, that's what the new moon means, right?
Right, exactly.
But I don't understand what a progressed moon actually means, like what's happening physically.
I'll tell you.
There.
I'll tell you. The progressed moon is based on a scripture that says a day equals a year in the eyes of the Lord.
Okay.
A day equals a year in the eyes of the Lord. So when you're doing a progressed moon, you're going forward.
Oh,
You're going forward. Let's say you're 20 years old. You're going forward
okay.
20 years and finding where's that moon now.
Okay.
So you're actually using scriptures. People have no idea how much scriptures are using when they do charts. They have no idea. They have no idea how much is scriptural. And it's kind of like cracking the code. It's taken me, 50 years to do it, to start to begin to understand it. And there's still
just say, sorry, but Ron, that's not something you'll find in any book. That's Ron's contribution to the science of astrology. What he's talking about, this formula, I guess you could say, is what Ron figured out. Like, he took from the Bible and put together, and then applied it over and over hundreds of times to several charts, and it didn't miss, which is
right.
what his second book came from. So I didn't think Ron would say that, but I just want to be very clear. That's the difference between an astrologer and an astrologist. An astrologer is someone who practices astrology. An astrologist is someone who contributes to the science of astrology, and that's Ron's contribution. You know, he's an astrologist. So sorry to interrupt, but
No, thank you.
I'm
for
always
that.
really proud of you for that.
I know that. Thank you. You know, I really am, like you have the book, The Cosmic Key to Astrological Interpretation. That book is
Mhm.
a masterpiece of knowledge. And I show step by step by step, over and over and over again, how accurate it is. And Veneta's back. We've been doing this for years now. I mean, how long we've been? A year, at least more. And you know, she uses it regularly, and it works. And
Yeah, that's amazing.
little things like when her mother was moving to Las Vegas, and I told her there's going to be car problems, and I think that's what I said, car problems.
Yeah, you did.
What happened was the trailer broke down, if I'm not mistaken. So the mother said, "Well,
I
he's
said,
not
Mom, he told me. Yeah.
he's not
He said,
accurate."
it was the trailer, not the car. I was like, how much more validation? And just this past year,
Uh-oh,
he
she's froze.
so he uses several examples. I think he said you have it, but he updated it to put Tiger Woods in it. And even though, you know, Tiger,
Oh,
you know, thankfully and luckily made it through his, you know, his
He should have died.
accident,
Yeah, he should have died.
but it was a good
yeah.
example.
I definitely have the book. I when I read it, you know, because I did read it, but it was way over my head. That's why
Yeah.
that was one of the original reasons I reached out. You know, was because I really wanted to get a hold of this knowledge. I mean, I believed in it from the beginning. I just didn't understand any of it. So now that I've got some more tools in my belt, I can read this again and really, you know, let it sink in.
It's just doing it over and over again, and then it becomes, you know, and it's easy because the steps are clear. Just finding those stress aspects having to do with those three. Yeah, so anytime I don't want to say this, but it's just, you know, anytime a celebrity dies or something, I like run to the computer and I'm like put it in
Yeah,
and try to see. Just it's more practice, you know. So
right, right.
I mean, it's so obvious once you start doing and understanding it, and you understand the three witnesses. It's like they're witnesses. Basically, that's what they are. They're telling you something, but they all have to kind of be in harmony with their message. And if they are, you know, you're going to see something come out of it. I don't know if I did this or not. Mars, Saturn, Pluto, worst affliction in a chart. I say I did 4 charts. I'm not sure if I remember what I did this past month with injurious aspects in them and the stories behind them. I don't know who I did.
Ron, may I ask you something really quick?
Yeah.
What do you mean when you say that they need to be in harmony with the message? May I ask, could you elaborate on that?
Well, if they're all afflicting, that they're trying to speak to me, and they're saying, "Look, there's a crisis here, and it's going to be major." If there's 3 witnesses, I'm pretty much convinced it's going to be absolutely happen. If it's 2, again, I may question it a little bit, you know, but
May I ask one more thing? When would Jupiter offset? Like just Jupiter being involved in any way or making aspects? When would Jupiter maybe offset one of those witnesses, if not more?
you know, that's one of the things I would like for you guys to work on. I have never, like I've mastered Saturn in a way in understanding it, but I've never yet been able to take Jupiter and do the things I do with Saturn. I would love to, you know, I have a student in Newfoundland who I've begged to do this. Karen's her name. Karen's a wonderful lady, and her husband was fire chief down in Newfoundland. Anyway, whatever the case, but she's a great astrologer, and she's like you guys. She has the talent and the gift, and she's been with me for literally for 4 years, maybe more. I mean, she supported us when we were going through a lot of rough times because she always sends me money and tries to help us out. Not that I've ever asked her for a penny, but you know, because I help her with her charts. That's the one I told you where the young girl, the mother wanted a chart done for her because she was getting blood drawn at a lab. And the mother said, Karen, would you do my daughter's chart? She's 15 years old. She's having a lot of struggles. And would you do her chart instead of mine? Karen said, sure, no problem. So Karen asked me to look at the chart. And I looked at the chart and I says, Karen, this girl's going to try to commit suicide this month. Remember, I think I told you this story.
Mhm.
So and so Karen said, Ron, am I supposed to tell the mother that? She's going to be angry at me and upset. And I don't feel comfortable telling her that. And I said, you know, it's up to you. I said, you know, if you don't tell her and it happens, you know, you're going to regret it. If you tell her and she gets mad, you're going to regret it. I said, I don't know what to tell you on that one. I said, but it's going to happen. So he told her, the mother got very angry at her, but she's a nurse, works in a lab. She owns her own lab. So she decided to, being a mother, she decided to go home and check her daughter's bedroom. And I'll show you something. So
I opened my door.
okay. All right. So she went home and she went through all her belongings of her daughter. And let's see if I can go here. Okay. So this is what she found.
Mm. Wow.
And
Holy crap.
yeah, she was shocked. And she also had a suicide note, her daughter. And and so what happened was, so she hired, or didn't hire, but she worked in the medical field, and she decided to get some psychological help for her daughter. And so she wouldn't obviously commit suicide. But I told her mother, I told Karen, I said, but it's not over. I said, she's going to do something more violent next month. And sure enough, she slashed her wrist, but she didn't die. She was kind of like a cry for help. So, you know, it's an example of how astrology can not just save lives, but it can prevent bad things from happening. Yeah, so I want you to get to that place where you will be working on this level. That's where I want you. People say when I wrote the book on death and astrology, you remember, people, why would you want to write a book about that? Who wants to know about their death? I said, I'm not going to tell you about death, and I'm not going to predict your death. But if I can prevent, if the bridge is out down the street, I'm going to tell you that there's a bridge out and you may have to be careful. And maybe you can prevent something from happening. And that's the usefulness of this tool. I could have helped a lot of people if they had come to me. Joan Rivers, I would have advised, please do not do this. Don't do this surgery right now. It's going to kill you. I did a woman just several months ago who came to me for a reading. And I predicted she's going to get very, very well healed money-wise. She's going to do very well because she's in real estate. And she did very well. You know, there was a big boom in real estate recently. And then her daughter said, why don't you go to Ron? Because she wanted to have surgery to remove fat around her belly and, you know, all this stuff they're doing today. And she was going to go to a friend of hers, a doctor friend of hers, who's in Turkey. And so her daughter said, why don't you go to Ron and get a reading and see if it's safe? And I went and I told her, I said, it's very safe. You're going to be okay. Now, that's a risky thing to do.
Right.
A doctor, obviously, and at the same time, I'm putting her life in my hands. But I
Yeah.
felt very good about it, and I told her it's okay. And she, of course, came back. She was very happy. She had no complications, never had an infection, never had anything go wrong. And she had major surgery. They removed a lot of fat, and she looks great. But again, these are tools we have that we can use, and the more the more you get versed in it, the more you learn, the more you'll get to the point where you start doing this kind of stuff. There's some areas where I take risk. Obviously, I know I'm taking a risk. I mean, can you, God forbid, something happened to that woman, and I would have been feeling very responsible for my predictions. But that's the way I felt, and I felt safe to say it. So there's so much here, there's so much here. I told you about my student, Babby, who her mother wouldn't come out of the bedroom. I remember that story.
Yeah,
You
I remember
know,
that one.
so saved her life.
Amazing story.
If she had been home, she wouldn't have lived. She was in the waiting room of the hospital. Thank God she went there. So this is all, this is all amazing stuff. We're I'm laying this stuff on your laps, quite frankly. I am really doing this. I'm laying it on your laps because I want you to carry this forward. I'm not going to be here that long, and I want you to be working constantly the rest of your life, learning and mastering all this. You got the tools, you got the knowledge. You just need to apply it, and the more you learn it, the more you're going to get good at it. So, I've there's only 3 people that I would give this legacy to, and that's Karen, Veneta, who else? Jerold. So I know it may sound like a little dramatic, but you don't know me. I'm a bit of a prophet when it comes to people too. And so I want to see you guys venture forth, carry on the legacy, if you would, and perpetuate the art, make it even better. There's a saying, how is it? The teacher that has no student excel him is not a good teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you all to excel me.
Very wise words that we're taking to heart. I mean, I think I speak for Veneta and I both when we say, rest assured that this is gonna live on and live strong.
I believe that. I trust that, actually. So, we think we pick each other. You think you pick me, but in a way, there's more to all that. There's communication that goes on deeper than the surface that we don't see. And we're guided to a teacher, we're guided to people in our lives. And, you you stay connected. It's hard not to, once we get, our souls get connected and we know we're related. So anyway, let me see if I can. Let's see if I covered where I was at. Oh, this is I did some charts of these Saturn Pluto afflictions, Mars. You see Saturn at 15 degrees here. And you see Mars, or Mars is 6 degrees.
Mhm.
6 and 15 is how much difference?
Well, oh, 11 degrees difference.
Yeah, see
Do we
now,
subtract?
this is an example of what I want to teach you. Remember I said nothing's written in stone? You remember I said that?
Mhm.
Remember
Yes,
you know what rules stones, rocks, minerals?
Saturn.
that's Saturn.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm kind of talking about nothing's written in stone. This is true. I mean, Mars is out of orb, but look at their angles. They're so powerful. Mars way up here in the heavens, squaring off, even though it's a wide orb. But look at what it's doing over here. You got 15 Aquarius and you got Pluto at 20 Scorpio. So you say,
Mhm.
how is Mars involved in that? These two are square by 5 degrees. Okay,
Mhm.
5 degrees. But you would say Mars is out of orb. You got to start using your intuition. Mars is not out of orbit. It's just powerful, and it's
Right.
it's touching all these. By this is a 9-degree orb. We use an 8-degree orb.
Mhm.
Well,
Right.
it's 1 degree? You're going to think it matters. So if this is it, yeah,
Right.
if this is hitting this one, if this is hitting this one, that brings them all together. 20, 15,
Mhm.
6. Okay, now
Mhm.
we're not done. Look at the sun.
Mhm.
The sun's in the will and Mercury, all these are all forming a grand cross. See it?
Mhm.
Okay.
I see it.
Okay. And the moon is with Pluto in Scorpio of all things. Scorpio, of course, Pluto rules Scorpio, but
Right.
the moon has a hard time here. So here we're looking at a very corrupt man. This is when I was doing a chart, I was teaching a student in Sweden. Was that right, Elaine? Sweden, and she was a student of mine for a long time. Her daughter's boyfriend, a Muslim, was a drug addict and a father to her newborn. He caused havoc in her life, physically threatened her. Her life was in danger. This is the asshole, excuse my language, that was involved in that relationship. Okay. So when you're doing these kind of charts, you look at this chart and you say, how worse can it be? How much worse can it be? It's really bad. So, you know, Saturn, and it's interesting, Saturn's in Aquarius. It's very powerful here. The sun's in Leo. It's very powerful here. Okay. Pluto's in Scorpio. These are all their own signs. I mean, they're really strong. But,
Mhm.
you know, it could have been, if it wasn't such a cross, and this man created hell for that family. You have no idea. Anyway, so I don't know what else I have here. I did something else here. Let's see what I did. Who was this one? Kidnapped and assaulted at 14 years of age. Oh, this is also, I think she was the niece of my student in Sweden. She was kidnapped and raped and held in a house. And this is her chart, not the she was the victim here. So look at the moon and Saturn.
Mhm.
Okay,
Opposition.
you got it. And it's a wide orb, but it's not really 12 degrees. It's what we allow for that anyway for moon. Okay. Um, let's see what I'm trying to see. Mars with a moon afflicted, opposing Saturn, squaring Pluto. That's what I wanted to show you all.
Mhm.
Look at Pluto here at 9 degrees Libra. It's squaring Mars almost by 3 degrees, 4 degrees. And it's 2 degrees to this one. That's the Pluto, Mars, Saturn affliction. Now, in the case of a woman, you see this aspect, she's very often the victim.
Mhm.
In other words, the perpetuator often has that in their chart, but she is the victim of all of this assault, which is Mars and Saturn in Cancer. It's in its worst place. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. It's strong. Pluto is in Libra. There was a lot more that I'm looking at the 19 Aquarius. Let me look a minute here. Anyway, this here is a quincunx. It's a 150-degree aspect to the Saturn and the Sun. She's lucky she lived through that. The Sun afflicted, the Moon afflicted.
Mhm.
Remember I told you the most danger to someone is when their lights are both afflicted. What do we say? You've heard the expression, I'm gonna put your lights out.
Yeah. Mhm.
Very astrological. So this is an example of the worst kind of energies to have in a chart. And in this case, I'm sharing with you the victim, a 12-year-old girl, 14-year-old girl, who's got all of these energies of extraordinary threat against her life, against the sun, against the moon, and particularly the moon. Both lights. She's lucky she survived. Very lucky that she was even rescued.
And Pluto is also against her sun, right? Is working
Exactly.
against her sun.
Look at Saturn and Pluto, they're exactly square almost. Yeah.
Right. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. That's scary.
and then Pluto's also afflicting Venus by only 2 to 3 degrees. It's a quincunx.
Mm.
It's a 150-degree aspect. That's a very afflicted aspect. There's not much left. There's not much in this chart that's not afflicted. Mars at 13 Capricorn. That's afflicting by Yod. No, I mean opposition to Saturn. So I was trying to share with you the danger of these planets, Mars, Pluto, and Saturn. When they all conspire, if you're Veneta, if you're dating a guy, you do his chart, and you see this kind of setup, you'd really beware. Use your good judgment and get out, and try to get out tactfully, because sometimes I find that these kind of charts, especially with guys, they tend to just hard to get rid of. Okay. By the way, did you move?
Have I moved?
Yeah.
No, not yet. My lease is up next month on the 15th.
So you're still going to move in with him?
Yeah, so that's where I'm at right now. That's where I've been the last couple of weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'll rough it out for 2 months, and then for his lease to be up, and then we'll move on together about October.
Okay. All right.
Thank
Anyway,
you for asking.
okay, so let's go with one more chart. I think I have 3 here. I got several, 4. Okay. Well, let's see what. I don't know what I did here. I don't know. It's been a while since I did these charts. I know there were a lot of aspects here. Oh, I think I do know who this is. This was, oh yeah, I think so.
Wow, all those are square Jupiter, looks like.
Yeah, look at
Opposite Pluto.
Mars and Pluto are total opposition, exact.
Oh.
Saturn's opposition. Look at that. See, here's what I was trying to show. The Mars, Saturn, and actually all these are all conjoined, are all opposed Pluto. Okay. And I'm trying to remember about this person. Trying to remember who it is. I should have made more notes. My memory's not as good after I had that stroke. I think even Jupiter's involved in all this. See this heat cross?
Mhm.
I think, Elena, are you here? Do you remember who this doctor was I did this chart for? That I had the Pluto, Mars, Saturn. Who? No. No, it was,
I remember in Deerfield,
come on, talk to me.
he came to us and he had a cute girlfriend.
Oh, come here, she talked to them. She remembers the
Yeah,
event.
there was a doctor,
Okay.
there was a doctor, and that's all I remember, I think.
Oh, he had a cute girlfriend.
Yeah, she was
very young.
Esthetician, right?
I don't know, keep it,
Esthetician. She was
Mhm.
what an esthetician.
face,
Oh.
facials and all stuff.
Okay.
But she
Mhm.
First thing I said to her, I
yeah, he
remember,
said he wanted to tell you the truth because your boyfriend is here. Do you want me to see to tell
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah. She said, yeah, she was
Both are with you together, right?
a little bit of a
yeah,
embarrassment, right?
yeah, and I
He
said,
did not know that about his girlfriend.
I
she
said,
didn't tell him,
she was
so-
recently raped. I said, you were just recently raped?
Whoa.
And she acknowledged it, of course, but at the same time, the doctor was shocked,
Mhm.
and very unbelievable. Couldn't believe that it happened to her. But I also saw not a good thing for her in this relationship, and she acknowledged while I'm sitting here doing the counseling that she wanted out of a relationship in front of him. Yeah, and I also felt that he was not a good person, and then
Yeah.
you can see why, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if I had to verbalize what I see right here, it's just like this person's, spirit and soul are literally like not trying to don't want to be transformed,
Not-
by
Yeah, that's a corrupted soul. Good for you.
a corrupted soul. Like they're not willing or, going to go through the proper transformation that they probably should, right?
That's
That
right.
was so good.
Right there.
Good job.
Look at Jerold, he's reading already.
Hey, that was good.
Yeah, it was good.
Thank
So
you.
let's see what I did the last one, and let's see what I ended up with this one. I have no idea. Marisha, husband, bodybuilder. Oh, very abusive. Threatened to kill her if she left him. She's trapped in a marriage with 2 boys. Oh, I remember this little gal. This is her chart. This is her chart. Mars with Venus. Join. Let's keep going. Let's see what's going on. Mars. Oh, that's what it was. See Mars opposing Pluto.
Mhm. Oh, mhm.
Okay, and Saturn is exactly
Mars.
2 degrees of 150-degree aspect. It's called the quincunx aspect. That's a bad aspect. It's kind of like, I say bad, I don't like the word so much, but it's a very afflicting aspect. The quincunx is very serious. It's like when you read the Cosmic Key to my book, you'll see the yod is very deadly sometimes. And so she's born with Mars conjunct Venus, which shows danger to her from a relationship. And it's afflicting Saturn by only 3 degrees, 150-degree aspect, and it's opposing Pluto. And I told you that when women have that aspect, they tend to be the victim. But she has Jupiter conjunct the moon. It means she's a great soul. Remember, the moon is the soul. Jupiter's magnanimous. She's a very giving, loving person. But she was trapped by this guy, and and put in great danger. He broke into her house. He did so many things. She tried to break up. He threatened her life. I don't remember all the details. Anyway, but these are charts that you're going to start seeing both parameters of these polarities between the male and female, even though this is a woman's chart. They become the victim very often when you see these aspects. It's like they're the receptor, not the giver. And I sometimes wonder how much of it they attract and why. You know, what is it about them that they're drawn to these kind of people? So this is kind of a good class, I think. We kind of covered a lot.
Oh yeah, amazing. This is absolutely $1 billion class here. I mean, I feel like I'm walking away with so much knowledge, you know, today.
I'm bad. I felt a little neglect with you. You talk to them, Elena, please. She wants. You talk to them. Okay, you can talk to them.
I was wondering if you would mind if we posted it on YouTube.
Oh, no, I don't mind at all. It sounds good.
Okay. Well, she got permission.
Yeah, and it's recorded permission, so she's good.
Yeah. And then Veneta, you're okay with this?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, going over this information only helps. I still get so much from this. Even going back and watching the same class, I still get so much from it. And I've watched some of our classes 3 and 4 times, and I have yet to get to a point where you know, where I'm not finding gems. I still find gems in all of these. So I love that that he wants to record it as well, because it's very valuable. It's served me over and over again. So
Well, you know, you and you can share those with Jared. I'm sure you'd enjoy them. He can,
yeah, definitely. Actually, definitely.
yeah, he can get into your computer and do magic. I'm serious.
That's what I hear.
You haven't seen him work on a computer. This guy's amazing. He goes through the back doors. He gets inside everything. So
yeah, I'd be happy to help. You know, anything I can do.
Well, thank you for letting me sit in on these and contribute. It's like I said, it's so valuable to me. I appreciate it.
Well, you know, we always wanted to keep on going, you know, in the classes with you, and this worked out so well, you know. So bringing you in like this, I just, you know, I'm so excited about both of you and your future. And like I said, I used to study for years. I've studied photography. You know, I've worked for major companies as a photographer. I have equipment. I got $10,000 worth of photography equipment here. I'll probably never use it again. If you know anybody that wants to be a photographer, let me know. I got literally the best lenses, the best equipment, the best everything. And plus, I'm president of the American Press Association, so I can have you with press credentials. Anyway, so Jared, you might not know that, but if
I didn't know that.
We have journalists all over the world working, even in Ukraine, for us in the association. I started years ago, and so the reason I love photography is because there was no end to learning. I never reached the point where I felt like I knew it all. And I've got to always feel like I can keep growing in something if I'm going to do it. And I can guarantee you one thing, you'll spend your whole life growing with astrology and learning and mastering it. And you'll never get to a point where you know it all. I've been doing charts for how many years? I still look at a chart sometime and think, what the hell did I see? I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do with this client. I don't know. some charts challenge me. And it's funny because you would think after all these years, not much would put me back, but some charts I look at and I think it's because they're too good. It sounds silly.
Mm,
I have no problems with all the affliction.
yeah,
I'll
that
tell
makes
you,
sense.
I'll open it up like a book, you know what I mean?
That's
And
why he was struggling with Leanne's chart that one time. He couldn't really find too many
you know
stress
what?
aspects
I
of
was gonna
Saturn.
say, I was gonna say that
Yeah.
next. I was gonna say that
Yeah.
next. Yeah, the best I could
And
do.
she's
for
a
her.
really good person. She's
Yeah,
a really good person. So you see that play out in life too. It's just like there's not much conflict going on here.
no, I saw that. So it was kind of, where am I gonna go with this one? So, it's just a beautiful lady. So the best I can do is her coffee.
She really enjoyed that too. She had some today.
Get a milk if you like cappuccinos with a creamy coffee.
Yeah.
Okay, let me send you a Amazon link to
Okay.
milk frother. You can actually type it in. Just milk frother. Don't get the big
Mhm.
one. I usually get the small one, but it's up to you. Maybe if you're gonna both make a cup, you can get the bigger one. I had anyway, enough of that. I'm so into my coffee. Anyway, so I thought you guys would think I was a little crazy, but
No,
it's
it's all
great.
good.
All right, my friends. Look, I love you both, and thanks for being part of my life. And I got over the sickness pretty quick, and
Awesome.
it was a
Amazing.
rough time for me. It's every day I'm thankful, and every day I'm still above ground, and
Mhm.
you carry on the torch, no matter what. Okay, I'm gonna let you go. I love you guys.
Thank you.
I
Love
love
you
you too,
guys.
man. Take
Enjoy
care.
your evening.
All right.
Okay, we'll
Bye,
talk
guys.
again soon. Thank
Mhm.
you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.